Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Still Faithful podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Robinson, Rody Rob 37 on Twitter and other websites. And I'm joined today by two friends of the show. They are the Forgotten Soldiers, John Delarm and Scott Lauderbaugh. John, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off and introducing yourself a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, all right, cool. I joined the United States Army in December of 2004, and I was kicked out over the COVID vaccine in November of 22, if I remember correctly. So I served 17 years, 10 months of service in the Army. I was kicked out. I actually got an honorable discharge, but I'll talk more about that in a little bit. I'm now got a podcast called The Forgotten Soldiers, where I do interviews on veterans that were kicked out of the military or vaccine injured veterans. I also interview other individuals, any civilians that want to share their vaccine story as well, so we can expose kind of the truth during COVID-19. So it's kind of my background, and yeah.
Sweet. Now, Scott, could you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having us on, first and foremost. And then, so I went in the military, October 3rd, 1993, 25 years honorable service. I was a chef on the USS John F. Kennedy. I was a captain chef and wardroom, which is for officers. My first duty station, then Army Reserves, 6th Area Transportation Unit. I was at 88 Mike 92 Golf. We pretty much did a lot of hurricane relief for American citizens. So we had like a MKT, which is a mobile kitchen. And the unit that we were attached with, we served, American citizens who pretty much lost everything. Then I joined the 171st Air National Guard for 12 years, and then another did the same thing there. So pretty much same. It's culinary arts and everything. So we just cook for everybody and make sure there was good continuity, fuel the force, so to speak. But we're also chemists. Chefs are looked at as just cooks, but we have to know temperature danger zones and things of that nature, so our military brothers and sisters don't get sick. And then we also bring continuity, morale, and fuel to their bodies. So all around mix there. And then finished up at the 911th Air Force Base, the last tenure of my career, where I stood up. I mean, everything was going great. And then the COVID debacle came into play, and I stood up for my airmen. My career was placed IRR, meaning they basically put me on the shelf for my career to basically die. The rest of the way I fought through congressionally and with a constitutional attorney, and was able to be reinstated 2 years before the President Trump's reinstatement executive order 14184, and basically was able to honorably retire. And then I joined up with John and other reprimandos and other military service members like yourself and everybody else that's out there that's battling this shit. And then we basically joined forces with John and everything. We've just been doing podcasts ever since, helping other service members out and telling their stories, and been rocking and rolling ever since. And we ain't stopping until it's damn well accountability. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank y'all for the introductions. I wanted to ask, so I guess I'll start with where y'all first connected and got together. Could y'all talk a little bit about that era, and then maybe about getting together with the other reprimandos early on and kind of what that environment was like? I really want to kind of highlight what y'all were doing early on too. Like as soon as this started, I know y'all hit the ground running with I know John did with the podcast, getting it set up. So what was that all like? What was going on there?
Yeah.
Oh, John.
So basically, like I said, I hit the podcast going. Yeah, when I got kicked out, I started driving semi for Swift. Is the only thing I could do to support myself. But I started early on. I started doing the Forgotten Soldiers podcast, and initially the first few episodes, it's all about me just kind of exposing my story and what happened to me. So I basically have all the documentation. I show all the documentation, everything that I have to expose everything. So everything I showed the chain of command, and everything that that kind of happened to me, and I kind of go through it all. So those were the first few episodes. And then I had to reach out to a soldier that I had of mine, PFC Hernandez. And I got him to do one of the first podcasts with me where I interviewed someone. So I got him through. And then at some point I met Captain James. I did an interview with him. And then I kept carrying on. There's like 9 or 10 parts of me going through, the documentation because I thought it was important to get it out there. And so to show all the corruption. And then at some point, I don't know, Scott, do you remember kind of how we met and where we met at? I just remember that I did an interview with you, and I don't know if it was through Mark Shaw, because Mark seen some of my documentation online. I was talking about my Gomar, and he's seen it, and he reached out to me and was like, hitting me up, and then we started talking. I was like, "Hey, you want to do an interview?" And he was, kind of sketchy about, linking up with me doing an interview because he's like, "Who's this guy like popping up out of nowhere?" Right?
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people at the time like didn't really trust each other. It's hard to like you almost had to like prove like you were
Yeah.
getting out over COVID in order for us to start trusting each other. And then so yeah, Scott, you remember, was it Mark that introduced us, or was it like
Yeah, I
a
think it
text
was
thing?
it was that, and then we had come up with the idea that we were going to have like a 5 panel. That was, I think, the first one where we came on. We started brainstorming, but John's right. Like everybody started coming out of the woodwork at that time, and I would probably say it's what, jeez, I don't even. It was like 3 years ago, I guess. Now time flying so fast, but
Yeah.
everybody started coming out of the woodwork and fighting on their own, and then everyone started collaborating together, and that's when we're like, well, instead of just interviewing one person, let's get people from different branches. Like we had guys from the Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines and stuff like that. And then they were telling their story. So it wasn't just coming from one person. So we kind of split it up, and then it started rocketeering from there. And then we had officers on with us, with enlisted, and just kind of just switching it up and just come up with different ideas so that American citizens who are watching our podcast and everything would see a story. It was this stuff actually happened from each individual story, and then we just went from there. And then John and I, we came up. This is going forward after the Lance Castle situation, and then so we were collaborating with other officers. So it wasn't like, how like people, other podcasts are like, there you have scripted. People are told what to say, but now you've got differences of opinion from every different person, from officers to enlisted, mixed in, and everybody was fighting at that time. And then it kind of just skyrocketed from there. Then the Lance Castle situation had come up after his first court martial, and then the second one had come into play. And that was the first time a lot of us met each other for the first time. John had flown up here, stayed with me, and then we drove down. He flew up from Texas, stayed up here in Pittsburgh. We drove down to South Carolina, met everybody down there, went to the court martial, and then we got a lot of pictures and stuff, just us hanging out, and just the first time we sat down and actually started talking with each other. And then more people came into the fold, and it just kept going from there. And I think it is really godsend, really, if you think about it, because we didn't really know anybody, you know, um, he's Army, I'm Air Force, you're Marines, you know what I mean? And we're all coming together from our own stories and just, saying, no, this is what actually happened. This is the true story. We have the documentation and everything. Chaplain James, we've even have interviewed him, and then other service members who are injured from the biological weapon, COVID-19. And then, here we are, you know what I mean? Just keep going. And then we are helping out with the Duty to Disobey, helping Jen out. So we did that project, and then John came up with another project about the Letters of SecDef, which was a letter campaign that we did too. So we've been just doing a lot, and helping other service members out, and even American citizens who want to tell their story. So that's kind
Right.
of how this came to be. We don't ask for money. We don't want any money. This is on our own time. This is greater than that. You know what I mean? And John really came up with the Forgotten Soldiers name. He came up with the logos. We spoke with other service members, and then we had to move some things around as far as music goes for intros and outros. But we've evolved from the very beginning. Well, halfway, because that's when I joined with John's. But John's evolved this from the beginning all the way to now, and we're not stopping. So it's been cool. I enjoy it. It's been a wild ride, but the way that I see it is that we're all together in this, and we got to keep pushing forward and get accountability.
Yeah, and also to add on to that, a lot of the interviews I did initially, I actually open invitation to all those individuals, until I hit Scott. Well, with Scott was the last one, but every one of them, I'm like, yeah, man, let's do this together, and you can co-host with me, and we'll keep working it. And when I ran into Scott, he's the only one that was like, yeah, let's do it. Like everybody else kind of said that, but they didn't stick with it. I'm not saying that, they weren't around because they still came back and helped out and did some other interviews and helped out with some things. So they're still part of the team. Um, but really Scott kind of stuck in there and he's with me all the time now and we just kind of roll with it, which is good because we need that support with each other because this is really, it's almost like we're just yelling off in the nowhere and that's kind of what it is. But I think we are making changes. It just seems to be very slowly. And if we don't get a lot of response back, we don't really see it coming in. But yeah, he been sticking with me the whole time, and I really appreciate it. And so, that kind of leads us up here. I'm gonna go ahead and fix my name too. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say was that.
The other thing that's really wild too is that not only have we evolved, but like John's like in the beginning, he was just like another person that, or service member, but we're like brothers. Like, you know what I mean? We have like that continuity now where we know what we're gonna say before we say it, and we just everything just flows like naturally. You know what I mean? Um, the duty to disobey thing is gonna be pretty big. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be up in Cleveland.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Skipping ahead to the duty to disobey stuff. That's more of
Yeah.
along the stuff that's going on right now. We can go ahead and
Mhm.
get into the stuff that's going on right now if y'all want.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's
I
good?
do want to
So
say real
for
quick though that the podcast that I do, the one of the reasons why it works and why um it why I believe it's a good podcast just to watch and get information is because like Scott said, you can go on there and say whatever you want. Like I don't censor you, I don't tell you what to say, I don't tell you how to say it. I've only out of the 90, what, 4 podcasts that we've done, Scott, I've only probably censored like 2 comments just because, there was one comment where I don't think women should be in the military. And I'm like, yeah, I'm taking that out. Like, I don't agree with that. So I pull like stuff like that, I pull out, but I've only taken out like two comments. And then the rest are people that tell me like, hey, can you take this out? Other than that, it's your opinion. I don't, we don't hate on opinions. I don't agree with, 10% of the shit Scott says, you know
Yeah, for
what I
sure. And it's y'all's
But
platform too, so it's your
mean?
prerogative at the end of the day. But the fact that y'all haven't gone out of your way to do that because of what's happening everywhere else, since censorship, so it's good that y'all focus on not doing that as much as possible. You give your audience the full information, the full package, and let them discern for themselves
Exactly.
based off of that.
But yeah,
Um,
so going back to Duty to Disobey, the documentary by Children's Health Defense, directed by I believe Tommy Toby. I think that's right. Don't quote me on that, but I'm saying that's right. Um, yeah, it's just a bunch of service members that went down and kind of spoke about the issues and kind of their stories and what happened within whatever military branch they're within during the COVID, mandate of 2021. And so I had the opportunity to go down there and speak on that documentary. And we're going to go down to Cleveland, Ohio, and check the documentary out down there with Jen. And I think Brad Miller's going. Well, I know he's going. And there's a couple other individuals going to head down there as well. Chaplain James will be there. His wife Faye, Scott will be there, and yeah, so it's going to be a good time. But it's the premiere of the showing. There's going to be one on the 10th, but this one's going to be like everywhere else. So the one on the 10th is for DC. This one's going to be everywhere else on the 30th of
yeah.
June. So we'll be down there, I think, for like 3, maybe 4 days and kind of hang out, get to know some of those individuals, hang out with them. We're going to do a Q&A thing at the screening. We haven't seen it yet, and that's when we're going to first see it. So honestly, like, I don't know if Children's Health Defense is going to pull some stuff out or keep some stuff in or what they're going to do. I do have some information on that. There was an email traffic going through with Ted Macy on Children's Health Defense, and basically, I think if I'm reading it right and kind of what happened, those individuals from Children's Health Defense was like, "Hey, we had some recording issues with a few people, so we had to pull their recordings from the documentary." And she's like, but we've already talked to those individuals and everything's good or whatever, blah, blah. Well, Ted Macy is the individual um, that brought the DMED information out from the military and exposed all the like increase in percentages for, cancer and for neurological issues. And, he's the one on X that stands there and reads the information off the DMED information, the bald guy. That's Ted Macy. And so, yeah, I guess he basically was upset because he said, hey, he said, he said, the only reason why, he said, you guys never told me um, that I was cut from the documentary. No one told me. Like, he's like, the only way I found out is because I called and asked about it, what's going on, to get an update. And then they told him. Well, by then, I guess it was too late. And he said they never initially, like when they found out, I guess, like they never reached out to him to get him. And apparently there was a month or something or some sort of time frame where he could have actually went back and redid it. So we don't know. That's kind of information I got, but the how it looks maybe coming from Ted and how it kind of seems is like, this may or may not have happened as far as like the recording, and they just kind of pulled it, or maybe the recording did get messed up and they just didn't reach back out to him and was like, oh, we'll just leave it out. So either way, like a very important piece of the puzzle, the DMED information through a whistleblower, it's probably not going to be in the documentary. So, which is, I find that hard to believe, but I mean, somebody like Ted Macy and that information, they should have just reached back out and be like, yo, we need to get you back out here. Or can you record some stuff over the phone? Or,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, that's unacceptable that he's not in it.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. And it kind of makes you think like, what else is going to happen when we go watch it, right? So, excited to go hang out with some individuals that I, haven't met. Excited to see Scott again. Excited for the documentary. But I'm not going to get my hopes up too high because we know that this system and kind of what's been going on, it basically makes you think that, you get all these wins and things are going right. But in reality is they're still controlling the situation and they have their hands into everything, man. And so even if it looks like a win, at some point it's going to be like, no, you didn't win.
Yeah, that seems very strange that he wouldn't be in that documentary. That sounds exactly like what you're talking about. Well, since I have both of you on here too, I wanted to ask about the letter campaign from y'all's perspective, how you think it went up to this point, and have y'all heard it back from anybody in government?
From my standpoint, it was John's idea to begin with, and whatever John wants to do, because he's my brother, my military brother, and because we do the podcast together, I'm all in to help where I can. They came up with the letters and everything like that, the templates, and I signed it and just added like my own documents and sent up a big red folder full of evidence, not all of it, but just some parts, which I share with you and you can post whenever you're like. Um, but I wanted to hit home and let them know, like, yo, what I mean, this is what's really happening, or what really happened in the military, and not just to one service member. It happened to all service members. The ones that fought back and are getting kicked out are the ones that got the goods, meaning the evidence. In case in point, in Ted Macy's case, with what John was just saying about, duty to disobey and everything, this is a thing about the censorship and things like that and the retaliation or attacks, what have you, because we have the evidence on these clowns. You know what I mean? So getting back to your question, I wanted to help out and everything. I think it went good. We had a first wave, we're waiting on the second wave, but the first wave went through. We didn't get any responses back. I know I didn't. The only thing I got back was my receipt that they was signed for and everything, so I know that they got it. The point about everything is to keep the pressure on these individuals,
Yeah.
and let them know, like, hey, we're not giving up. You know what I mean? No matter what you say or do, we're going to keep pushing until we get accountability. You can give us, you know what I mean, these little tidbits, these little tippy toe, victories here and there to make it look like, you know what I mean, that you're, trying to do something or you are doing something. But like John was saying before, and how we all feel is, we'll believe it when we see it.
Right. Which brings me to this announcement that they're pulling or they're not requiring the flu vaccine. Do y'all want to talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like in the midst of everything, it's being handled more like a political football, really a political stunt for what's going on right now and the midterms and getting points, with the public. That's how it feels. You brought up the letters as a vehicle to pressure these individuals to actually follow through with what they're doing. What do you think about the decision their decision to not require the flu vaccine anymore as an annual requirement? And do you think that they're gonna follow through with this, or is it just something that might pop back up later?
Right. Well, I'd like to share a document I have. I've been doing some research on this, kind of looking into it, see where this is kind of leading. So I'm just going to go ahead and share this now since we're here. All right. You guys see that?
Yes,
Okay. So let me make sure I share it with sound. I don't know if it'll mess up my speaking or not.
I can still hear you.
All right. Okay. So this is kind of the breakdown of the DoD and how they remove vaccines and kind of what it means. So going back to what Billy Mosley did was when he got the information I was showing that the COVID vaccine was still being given on military medical facilities. Um, that's kind of why we started the campaign, right? Let's stop these vaccines on military medical facilities. And it makes sense, right? It's a poison, like it has so many side effects. It's hurting people, it's killing people, it's causing all these issues. Whether you think it is or not, like it's proven it is, right? Um, so in this here, this chart that we have, all right, so a mandatory removal is not the same as a schedule removal, okay? So it's basically a removal of the mandate, right? So it's no longer required right here, right, for service members. I don't know if I highlight that. Yeah, there. So it's no longer required for service members to take, right? So a scheduled removal, the vaccine is no longer authorized for anyone in the DoD. So what this means is that the COVID vaccine was a mandatory removal. It's still on the immunization schedule, right? So you don't have to take it. You can go take it if you want it. It's just not required. And that's why it's still in the medical facilities, because if it was taken out of the medical facilities, they couldn't inject one person with it if they took it off the actual schedule. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
They'd have
absolutely
to
it
get
does.
rid of it. And so here's your authority, right? So the removal is a sec def, right? Which is sec war now, which it's whatever. Now this individual right here, the ASDHA, right? Um, that individual can take it off and remove it, okay, from the actual schedule. But that individual works under sec def, okay? So we can still bug sec def and say, hey, take the shit off, because what really needs to happen with both of these scenarios right here, right? We'll go through them real quick then, right? So right here for mandatory, vaccine remains on DoD immunization schedule as an optional immunization. All right, schedule removal, vaccine is removed from the DoD immunization schedule entirely, right? Um, Mandatory vaccines are still administered voluntarily. The schedule removal requires immediate removal from inventory and cessation of use, right? And then we go down here. Um, this one, right? The military facilities. Yes, MTFs may continue to carry and administer it. This one, no, they must stop administering it to everyone, right? Inventory status remains in stock. Order is needed. Must be quarantined, removed from supply, and disposed of. Return to DHA guidance, per DHA guidance. Documentation system. Vaccines remain available for selection. Vaccines is removed. Um, right? And then so you can kind of read the rest of that, I guess. But that's the process. But here's the thing about both of these things, right? This person right here, the ASD, right? The Assistant Secretary of Defense, like health advisor, whatever it is, right? They can remove it, and they can bring it back, right? This guy right here, he can, make it mandatory, and he can, or take away the mandate and bring it back. So, and the thing is, it's still what it's telling you that it's still in use on military medical facilities tells you the mentality of the military leadership. They think this thing is helpful in some weird way. They don't think it actually causes harm. If it caused harm, what they would do is they would do this right here. This individual would pull it, they would take it off. It would no longer be allowed in military medical facilities. They couldn't order it, they couldn't inject it into anybody on those facilities. And what they should do is run an investigation, which it's already done. The investigation's done already, right? You go back to Ted Macy, we just talked about, right? He already came out with the DMED information. What did the military do? The military said, oh, that information is correct. All the information before that was wrong. There's a glitch in the system. And then they jacked up the DMED system. So now it's all jacked up now, and you can't read it and get a good information out of it anyways. The best information that we had through DMED was given to us by Ted Macy. And that's the information we should have stuck with. That's the information Senator Ron Johnson has. The VAERS system shows all all this shit fucking hurts people, kills people, handicaps them, whatever you want to call it. It causes issues with the human body, and it's all negative issues. And if these individuals really cared, they would pull it from the schedule, they'd remove it from the schedule, and then they would finalize their investigation because it's been done already through the VAERS system, through the DMED data, right? And then they would, never allow this thing to be pushed back out again, period. So the fact that it remains on the schedule shows you 100% that at some point they're going to turn it back on. The same thing I guarantee is probably happening with the flu vaccine. They took it off the mandatory, it's a mandatory removal, so the mandate is taken off for soldiers to take it. It's probably still on the schedule removal because it's still being given in those facilities. I can probably, bet my whole paycheck on it, which is, a lot. Not really. It's like zero. I don't have a job. But I bet they would. They're not going to take them off. And then, so what I think is going to happen is we're going to go through a flu season. All these individuals that got a bunch of boosters and their vaccines, their immune systems are compromised. So they're going to get hit with the flu. They're all going to get sick. It's going to look like, oh, we went around without the flu and now everybody's sick and everybody's this and everybody's that. We need to bring the flu back. Boom, flu's back, right? Or, they could do the same thing with COVID. Or they're going to wait and they're going to, because they have everybody's data. So they're going to know how many people get what vaccines because they're still being offered. So when they hit a certain percentage of soldiers that are still receiving the COVID vaccine, a certain percentage of soldiers that are still receiving the flu vaccine, they'll just turn them back on with a signature and boom, done. And now they're going to take the hits. Okay, we got 80% getting vaccinated, 20% aren't getting vaccinated. Okay, now what we can do is we can downgrade the military. So instead of saying, hey, early retirement or this or that, what they'll do is they'll just turn the flu vaccine on and then watch those, 10% of the 20 not take it. And then they'll just turn the COVID vaccine on and watch the rest of them not take it. And then just kick all those guys back out and then say, okay, we're good. We'll just carry on as usual. That's what I think is going to happen. It's all
Well,
a farce, man.
everybody's immunocompromised now because of the COVID vaccine alone. I mean, anybody that took it still in the military, I mean, all-cause morbidity rates are skyrocketing. I mean, people are getting cancer out the ass, no pun intended, but they really are all over the place. And it's acting as I've heard it described as almost a kind of HIV, the way it attacks
Yeah,
the
well,
immune
that's what
system.
HIV is. It's a autoimmune disease where it attacks your immune system. So this
Right.
basically is causing autoimmune disease, which is basically HIV.
Yeah. And they said some studies show up to 49% of the military having some sort of negative effect. For actually, I think I'm getting that wrong. I think it was 49%. It was for one of the specific injuries was 49% across, but it was across the DoD and it was all
I
vaccine
think that was
related.
like the myocarditis one, wasn't it? Some
I
form of
think you're right. I
asthma.
think it was myocarditis.
But that's the thing, like that is enough to just remove it from the schedule
Right.
and
Should
say,
be enough.
boom, done. We can't give this shit out in these medical facilities no more. We can't afford it. And then they should be running investigation, and they should be seeking the to get this thing off the market, period. That's what our military, no shit, is there to defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic.
Mhm.
What these fucking people are doing are defending the pharmaceutical company, period.
Right.
Which is
Well,
the
that
domestic
brings,
enemy.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying, which is a domestic enemy. So
Yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
I agree.
Yeah, they're not
Or
they're not
for it could
defending the
be foreign too.
Constitution.
It could be foreign also because they're they're embedded in other countries. So WHO, foreign and domestic, don't matter.
Yeah.
So
And again, we're not talking about the everyday soldier out there, busting their ass. We're talking about these higher up individuals that are making these policies, and they have the power to make these changes, but they just don't care. And
Mhm.
what they're doing is they're pretending to make small changes that they can easily reverse with a signature, and it makes it we're celebrating because the flu shot's no longer mandated. Woohoo! Okay, well, fuck. Next year, all he has to do is sign a piece of paper, and everybody's fucked again. So let's get all these people that just got kicked out back in, so they don't have to worry about the COVID and the flu shot, and let's get them serving for another 2 years, so we can go fucking pick a war, and then in the middle of that war, we'll just fucking flip a switch, and everybody has to get vaccinated. Fuck them.
Yeah,
Like
don't get me
whatever
started on
their
all the
plan is, man.
don't get me started on all the cheerleaders and the people just screaming and cheering for all the scraps that they're getting.
Anything these people do is not for our benefit.
No, none of it
They're
is.
playing a game, and they're fucking thinking, a bunch of moves ahead. We as a population are being easily manipulated, and
Yeah.
it's fucking ridiculous.
Well,
I wanted to
that brings, yeah, go ahead.
well, I just wanted to tap into what John was saying. I wanted to share a couple things of documents that I have that kind of will show what happened here,
Do
where
it.
what I've got, and what John is saying, because it kind of intertwines and it can, it connects to each other. So if
Absolutely.
that's cool, I want to bring something up if I can share it. And you said I got to do it with audio. Is that what you said, Johnny? So I don't mess this up.
Yeah, usually if it's a video, you have to do it with audio, but I just always press audio just in case, so that way your voice may or may not come across. I don't know. It's kind of weird on the recording, right? So just press audio. You'll be safe.
Can you see it or no?
Yeah, I can see it. We can hear you too.
Okay, cool. So I did it right. All right, so check this out. So this is something that was given to me from an insider on my base. This is the crisis action team, quote unquote. They were coming together to basically show how to get everybody vaccinated. This is COVID vaccination operations. This is a briefing of all the upper echelon on the base that I was on, which was out of Pittsburgh, 9/11 Air Force Base. And if you notice, for November 2021, this was the height of it. This was right before they were mass forcing everybody to vaccinate and everything like that, right? So real quick, let's share this document here. Are you able to see that too?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what's called the vaccine waiver form. Okay, as you can see, they have all the I'll say it, biological weapons on here. I can zoom in, and this was given to me while I was fighting to be reinstated to get back in. I believe that they were messing up along the way. So as you can see, COVID's highlighted on here. All the other crap is on here too, checked off. So if you look down here, there's a date there, right? Form current as of 24 November 2001. The other document that I showed you was for November 2001. I signed this on my birthday in 2023, signed off by Lieutenant Colonel Pounds. So when I sent SecWar my packet, my letter with the letter campaign, I basically wrote this on a little sticky note and stapled it there. It said, "Where was this waiver form for all military service members? Question mark. See form current as of 24 November 2001. In my estimation, in my personal opinion, this was entrapment on all
2021.
service. Yep, 2021. This, in my opinion, is entrapment on all service members. Where was this vaccine waiver form for every service member out there?
Wow.
So you put two and two together, you can pretty much go ahead and, your opinion is your opinion. But if you put those two documents together, it pretty much shows that those turkeys were going after everybody. It didn't matter. And it was planned. This was basically the letters that John had come up with, the templates and everything. I added a little bit of salt and pepper to the red folder there, a little bit in the mix of basically what was going on from me, and just threw a little bit of ace in the hole there, just to let them know that, yeah, we got everything. Certain service members do. And I just wanted to share that real quick with y'all.
Yeah, that's just more proof that I mean it was all coordinated, it was all planned. And that goes back to why like what y'all are saying about them about scenarios in which they could just sign a piece of paper and bring it all back. That's
Could potentially happen.
what are some of the motivations behind that? I can dream up a lot, right? Just thinking about it, but it all goes back to them not they can't be wrong about this, right? That's got to be one of the big things for I'm talking about military commanders that participated in this and subsequently got promoted over it.
Yeah, we call them COVID commanders. That's kind of like the lingo that we use. And that includes NCOs too, that, were watching service members suffer and allowed it to happen. The duty of the NCO, non-commissioned officer, is to protect airmen, period. Your subordinate, I want to say subordinates, I'd say your airmen or your devil dog, your Marines, right? Your sailors, your shipmates, what have you, your soldiers. The duty of the NCO is to protect them. If senior NCOs and NCOs didn't step up, they're, in my opinion, they're just as guilty as the officers that allowed it to happen, period. And the officers are supposed to uphold all of the creeds as well, and protect their service members too. And they didn't do that either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the stuff that Scott's saying, I would back him. But what I will say, like these don't apply to everybody, in my opinion. Um, so if, for my example, if I told you or showed you, not just tell you, but show you the documentation that law was being violated and what they're doing was wrong, and then those individuals kept doing what they're doing, right? Now they're guilty and now they deserve a punishment. Because really NCOs, yeah, we're supposed to take care of the soldiers and always try and do what's best for them, but really we have to follow Army regulations, SOPs, right? Follow the law. But that's what we're doing. And so when the officers came down and were like, this is mandated, let's do it. NCOs did a really good job at what they're supposed to be doing, mostly like halfway. Like they really pushed in deep and said, we got to get this done. It's a mission. Let's do it. I'm enforcing this, order. Like we got to do it. And they did a really good job doing it. But the problem was, it was wrong. It was unlawful order. And, you don't go check to see if an order is lawful or unlawful, right? That's already came down the chain of command. It's already been filtered. In this case, there are so many red flags that's why I checked. I was like, no, I don't agree with this. Like, there's something going on here. Um, and so all the individuals that I showed the documentation to, that had some sort of rank on their chest, whether that be, E5s, right? But whatever, like any like sergeant first class and above, really a platoon sergeant and above, um, to include like, second lieutenants, whatever, should have stood up and said, no, like this is wrong. We can't do it. Like we got to stick together and follow the law. And that's it. Like they violated their own regulations. They violated their own DOD instructions. They violated US Code 1107 Alpha. Like they did all these things and they broke all this shit. And who paid the price for it? The ones who said the whistleblowers, like me, Scott, Ted Macy, Mark Bashaw, Billy Mosley, the whistleblowers yourself, that came out and said, hey, this is wrong. We paid the price when we shouldn't have. They should have just said, you're right. We got to stop this shit. And it shouldn't have mattered what any fucking person they said it shouldn't have fucking made one difference, period. Because in black and white is the law and it's written. And, they violated it, period. So they should have just said, no, no, sir. I don't care if you have fucking 4 stars on your chest. I cannot fucking make these guys fucking do this because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? But yeah, those individuals that were told and known of it and didn't do any research or give a fuck, all those individuals deserve something, some sort of punishment. And I have my own ideas, and I'm sure other people have their own ideas, but yeah, they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Accountability 100%. And that was lost, I think, early on with a lot of the maybe not a lot of them, but with some of the COVID refusers. At some point there was a disconnect. I think a lot of people ended up choosing or rather settling for reinstatement as opposed to I think we've talked about this before, John, as opposed to standing as a united front and holding out for
Mhm.
accountability early on. A lot of people just chose to fix their current predicaments. Not that I blame anybody for going in or seeking to correct their situations. I don't really hold anybody that went in enlisted or lower officer to that standard, but if you raised your hand and for a position to change things and they put you in a position to change things and you haven't done that or you haven't attempted to or you're dragging your feet, that tells me that you just wanted to be a part of the club again. That tells me that it you only had fight in you once. And now that you're back in the club, you want everything to go back to the way things were before, but we're not there anymore. That died with COVID.
And honestly,
Um,
like the whole scenario is just disgusting. Like, so I actually got my 145 back with the response through the BCMR process. And I just briefly read it and I was kind of disgusted with it. And I sent it to Del Saran, which is the military back pay lawyer. I'm
yeah.
like, here, you deal with this. But so I served 17 years, 10 months of service. So if I go back in right now, that's over the 20-year mark, right? I should have retired in 24. So 25, 26, right? That's 22 years. When I hit November or December, that'd be 22 years. And so if I go back in now, I should be retiring or retired, right? But they said, oh, we can't retrograde like retirement. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, we can't retrograde promotion. But what they can do is hold a special promotion board. But unless you right now go back in for 2 years, right? That's 2 more years. So that's what, I don't know, fucking 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 more years or whatever. Um, I don't want to be in the military, old as shit. Like I'm already, I'm 100% disabled right now. If I go in for another 2 years, I'm going to fall apart. But, you know, I immediately got the text saying, hey, I know you didn't get what you wanted, but if you want to come back in, and I'm like, oh, fuck you, man. Like, are you fucking with me? How am I supposed to go back in and work with any of these people? And, I don't know them, but yes, I'm judging them right now. How am I supposed to go back in with any of these people that violated the fucking law, got away with fucking literal murder, and I'm supposed to sit there and take orders from anybody in there? It's just not going to happen. And I should be retired right now, but I'm not. I'm just sitting here, doing a podcast with you guys, which is awesome. But, my dreams and hopes have been taken from me for, since, beginning of 23, basically, right? Like, how am I supposed to spend more time with my children? Like, I don't even have fucking retirement pay, so I'm struggling all the time. Like, that's all I want to do was buy a place to basically live at the rest of my life and retire, have some land, grow some crops, maybe raise some animals, spend a bunch of time with my kids because active duty military, you don't spend a lot of time with your children. So all that's been taken from me for this long. And, and I understand it's not in their reinstatement policy to, grant retirement. So I understand that was coming. But it's something that needs to change, and it's something they need to fix. They need to say, man, this guy should have been retired right now. I'm not going to make him do another 2 years. We're just going to retire him. Like
They
we're gonna
should
do
have
the
done
right
that. It would have
thing.
been the honorable thing to do, but they're only thinking about money and covering their own asses. See, they'll do that to you, but they'll force retire some general that was a COVID zealot not 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, violating the
Hmm.
law and doing whatever he was told. for whatever he got kicked out for or forced retired, whatever. Fuck you. What have you done for me lately? But he gets forced retired. They don't go back and retroactively hold him accountable for any of the shit that he did in the previous administration. They let him
Mm,
go home and do everything that you were owed. That's what pisses me off. All of these people need to see the inside of a cell. If you ruin somebody's life over COVID, I mean you too. I mean you too. That's me personally. We can have, a discussion about to what degree that counts, but if you ruin somebody's life over COVID, you are a worthless sack of shit and you need to be in a jail cell. You don't need
mm,
to be promoted. And I will say that out loud until accountability comes because it's true. These people are sick. And like these people that just went along with it too. I told y'all this too in a previous episode. During that time, I heard people making excuses for this shit left and right, who should have known better and who should have been able to discern what was right and what was wrong, or what was legal
mm,
and what was illegal. People that should have known better were saying things like right, wrong, or indifferent. We're gonna do this because it's what's being asked of us. And I always thought that was sick. And I brought that up to people that try to make excuses for that kind of logic too. But at the end of the day, there is a right, there is a wrong, there is illegal, there is an illegal. And when you start to confuse that, you need to get out. You need to be gone. You need to be gone. You're self-serving. It's obvious because you chose pension and to be complacent and comfortable rather than standing up for what was right and the people below you that you should have. And that's what the fuck happens when you promote people really, really quickly over bullshit like run times and, test scores instead of investing time into these individuals, building them up and promoting them when they are ready for the job. But everything is a numbers game. Everything is a numbers game. And they're just
mm.
facilitating bullshit so that they can step on other people to get to where they want to be. And that kind of shit is what needs to end. It needed to end 40 years ago. But I'll get off my soapbox there for a moment. I guess my next question would be, given what we've talked about up to this point, what's next for y'all and I guess the movement? What are the next moves? What's coming up in the future that we're hopeful for outside of the documentary, of course.
Oh man, that's yeah. Well, so me and Scott kind of been talking for a while, and we were only talking about doing 100 episodes. So we're getting real close to that, and we'll see where we're at and what happens, what's going on around there, during that time period. But yeah, I mean, I got to get back to school. I got to start learning stuff, agricultural stuff. I need to start looking into my future and trying to figure out how I'm going to push forward the rest of my life. And I know there's a lot of things going on with the country, and I know, it may or may not end up well for us in the future. Um, but if we can't do this forever, and at some point, like you have to take care of yourself. And I've been putting that off for a long time. And it doesn't mean I'm gonna stop, fighting and telling people the truth and spreading information. But I think I do need to slow down and start taking care of myself a little bit and start planning, for the future. And if the future goes to hell and we end up going to war and the financial system crashes or whatever happens, then it fucking happens. But we still have to have if you're not planning ahead in your life, then you're just, what are you doing? You're just kind of doing nothing. And why are you existing, right? Because you're just wasting your time and you're just sucking up air that you shouldn't be sucking up, right? So I think and that's a ways away. But I think future wise, I need to, like I said, I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to do this, I want to do that. So, I'm really hoping the lawsuit wraps up, for the most part this year. That way I can start getting on in my life and start doing these things. But yeah, I cannot, rejoin the military without accountability. I mean, it's not even, if there was accountability, I'd go back in right now. Fuck it. But it's just not gonna happen. And when I say accountability, I mean what I think accountability should be. Like, and I'm not talking about hanging people and killing people, but something fair and that looks
Yeah,
fair across the board and actually solves problems and takes care of shit.
yeah.
Um,
A
you know,
removal of corruption from the system, from the institution.
right.
I mean, that's the bottom line. Whether that's a jail cell or whatever it looks like, I think we can all agree that They just need to be out of the way at this point, these people that did this. And they need to be replaced with people that are civically educated and can discern better than they could.
Me, it's been great. I mean, I know in the beginning I was kind of like, what's going on? You know what I mean? But I felt spiritually led through it. As far as documentary goes, I'm not in it, but I'm out there helping with everybody else. I feel that like you guys have done my documentaries. You know what I mean? Like John has, Brad Miller, Wendy Bell in Pittsburgh, you, and anybody else who have I done interviews with and everything. This thing's out there forever. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. It's just like a movie. From my standpoint, John's right. You know what I mean? We want full accountability. That's why we did this. The Declaration of Military Accountability has been in congressional records since 2024 and submitted into it. That was the whole reason for a lot of this accountability. It's not these nickel and dime, victories. Not saying that they're not good on paper. You know what I mean? But then John's right with what he showed. So you still got to like walk that fine line of skepticism. You know what I mean? Are they really doing what they say they're doing? Or is it a trap? You know what I mean? So with that being said, I mean, I've met a lot of great people along the way. Tens of thousands of service members out there battling like hell in the trenches. You know what I mean? Everybody helping each other out. There's so many out there. When they took the original, and when I mean they, meaning it was like cyber attack, when they took the original military accountability website down, another Warriors of Conscience stepped up and put that into a new site to where it was cyber protected. So now the signatures on there mean something. It's protected. The other one I think was put together in the right way, but it wasn't protected. So now you had over 100,000 signatures of American citizens just poof vanish into 38,000. You know what I mean? With this, it's protected and people can re-sign that. There's definitely certain individuals that are out there still battling. Mark Bischoff, for one, when I met him twice actually. Once out in Eastern Pennsylvania, face to face for the first time. We were, doing a stand-up interview in a church, and he had asked me to come out to Lancaster, and I went out there with another gentleman that was a officer pilot, and his family opened up their house to me and let me stay there. Didn't even know me. You know what I mean? So I've met so many cool people along the way. I feel I was spiritually guided. I feel a lot of us are spiritually guided in this moment, whether you believe or you don't believe. But me personally, I think we all are, because God would not have brought us all together for a reason if he didn't want us together, and I feel we're there for a reason. As far as the podcast goes, I'm in it. It's funny because I always use the slogan from mafia movies, especially like The Godfather. You know what I mean? Once I thought I was out, they pull me back in. You know what I mean? And when these things happen, you're so, it's as if you've stood up for the first time all over again. When you see somebody hurting, or you see these small, I would say, victories, or these letters come out and these steps that we've worked so hard for being presented to us, you feel drawn back into it because you don't want to give up. And I know that's where you're at, that's where John's at, and that's where everybody's at. They don't want to give up because we fought so damn hard, and there's a reason for us being here together. So I'm in it for the long haul. I have family and grandchildren and stuff too. But at the end of the day, if John were to say, Scott, are you ready to do this? I'd be like, yeah, I'm ready. And we'll make it happen one way or another. I want to see the country, come out of this. I want to see us all united together like we're supposed to be per the Constitution. I want to see the laws, go into effect per the Constitution. And I want to see these cowards, these treasonous cowards, held accountable for what they did. They basically committed murder with a biological weapon and poisoned millions and millions of people, American citizens and military alike, and police officers, fire department, EMTs, our doctors. I mean, if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's everybody, man. So if there's a call, I'm going to be there because this is my country. This is what I swore, took an oath to do and to defend it. I know John's right there with me. I know I'm not alone. I know I've got 8,000 to 100,000 service members right there behind me, to where in the beginning you thought you were alone and everything when you first stood up. It's not that way anymore. And it's not going to be that way. And that's my take on it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for coming on. I really appreciate the time you've been able to give me tonight. If you wouldn't mind, before we cut out for the evening, letting everybody know where to find Forgotten Soldiers and your both of your respective work.
Oh yeah, but you can find me at on X. It's let me see what it is. It's at John Delarm 19344. My Facebook is backwards, so it's just Delarm John. And then yeah, because that's how I think backwards. And The Forgotten Soldiers on Rumble. And then it's all one word, The Forgotten Soldiers. And then if you're interested in doing a podcast and getting your information out there and talking about the, COVID mandate stuff, whether you're in service, out of service, you want to talk about being vaccine injured, it's a great place to document whatever happened to you and just put it out there. Say whatever you want, spill whatever names you want. I don't care. We'll just put it out. You do you. You can email me at theforgottensoldiers19 at yahoo.com and or message me on Messenger or hit me up on X and we'll see what we can do.
And for me, I'll just send it over to you. You could just pop it in there, like up on the thing, because it's a lot, especially my last name. So, but anyways, you can find me at on X at R_Lauderbaugh, and you'll find me on the Forgotten Soldiers with John Delarm, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm on all over social media. Just use my name. I'm not hard to find, so I'm good to go.
Well, gentlemen, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. And I think it's important to get this information out.
All right. Thank you.